everyone, it's Stephanie and Chelsea, and we are the co-founders of CS Planners, and today we have Melanie here.
Hi, thanks for having me,
Hi,
guys.
Melanie. Thank you so much. So you are a Pinterest coach,
Yeah.
which I love, and I know Stephanie loves Pinterest.
Yes,
So
I love Pinterest.
why Pinterest? What can you do with Pinterest to promote your business?
Sure. Well, Pinterest is a content marketing strategy. So if you think of it as a user, you go on there to discover. You go on there most of the time when you go on Pinterest, you don't know what it is you're searching for. You just know that you're planning for something, whether that be to start a business or even for tonight's recipes. So you go on there for information, to be inspired. And as a marketer, that's a really great opportunity for people to learn about you and to discover you, because unlike commonly referred to, Pinterest isn't a social media platform. It's a search engine. And unlike, if you're going to compare it to something, I would compare it to Google or even YouTube, where people can go and search. But it's more for discovery. When you go on Google, you essentially know what it is that you're going to be searching for, right? But when you go on Pinterest, you're just, ideas for planning a birthday party or design inspiration for my website. And as a marketer, it's a really amazing opportunity. Plus, there's over 300 million active users on Pinterest making searches every single month, and it's one of the top 3 search engines in the world. And for people that blog and produce content, it's the top 2 for driving traffic. So it's an incredible marketing tool for if you use the right strategies.
I never thought of it as like a search engine, but it makes sense because even when you go on Google, if you find something, you click on it, you see the visual, and right away you know, where you reduce that step when you're on Pinterest.
Exactly. And when you're marketing on Pinterest, it actually ranks in Google searches now too. So you're essentially killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It's amazing.
Wow,
I love
I didn't
Pinterest.
realize that. So I know, like, we've worked with a photographer before, and obviously for him, Pinterest was a huge way to promote because it is a very visual business.
Sure.
What about those businesses that are more service-based, where they're coaches or they do things behind the scenes?
Well, there's really 2 strategies to go about Pinterest as a service-based business, or, you can do one of 2 or both. If you're producing consistent content, be that YouTube, blog, podcast, if you create products, Pinterest is really great for that organic traffic because you can consistently share those new content pieces. So if you produce content as a service-based business owner, you should absolutely be marketing on Pinterest. Now, if you don't produce content as often, if you maybe have a course or maybe a signature offer, Pinterest is really great in terms of ads. So Pinterest now has ads, and they're really great for driving traffic, especially if you have kind of like a one-time offer. Now you can combine the 2 strategies if you produce content, but you're also trying to focus on a specific offer that you have as well.
So what are your tips for growing the interaction on Pinterest?
So because Pinterest is a visual search engine, there's really 2 components to getting discovered on Pinterest. So there's the SEO part of it, the keywords, optimizing your pins while you're pinning them, optimizing your account so that you can be discovered and rank at the top of searches, and suggestions for people that have searched relevant content. And then there's the graphic part of it. So unlike social media platforms, Pinterest has vertical images. So making sure that you're pinning vertical images and that they're eye-catching, that that the text doesn't blend, you're not using too much script font or really any at all. You're using graphics that relate to the content that you're sharing. Being really strategic about that, and unlike Facebook and Instagram, where you maybe want to brand your images, people want to see themselves in the content that you share. So you want minimal branding, but maybe while still keeping cohesive colors so that when they go to your Pinterest profile, they see, oh, these are all of their pins. So, and then also one step beyond that is, unlike Facebook and Instagram, where you can maybe post once a week or a couple times a week, and you can still kind of keep an engaged audience. That is, with Pinterest, you want to be pinning consistently daily. And so there's a lot of strategy that goes on repinning your own content, sharing other people's content. It's far more complex than people realize, but once you get it, and you're consistent with that, then you can easily drive traffic to your website.
That's amazing.
I think that's so true.
Yeah. In terms of pinning and repinning, so how many times a day would you recommend in general for someone to spend on pinning and repinning?
It's not so, I would say a certain amount of times per day. So finding that, let's say you pin 10 times per day, which when you're just getting started out may seem a little overwhelming, but I like to reassure people that you can repin your same content and it snowballs. So it'll slowly pick up, and then eventually you'll get to a point where you're gonna say, oh, I don't have enough room for my new content, because it's building on itself. So, and then in terms of daily content, I usually like to have a 70-30 ratio. So like 70% your content, 30% of others. And so for every 10 pins you share, I usually say maybe 3 or so of those should be somebody else's, but then making sure that you share quality, relevant content to your content, so that you're giving value to your audience, even if it's not your content.
And what I love about Pinterest, so I started off just doing my own thing before I even started a business. And I remember people like getting notifications being like, someone liked your post and now is following you. I was like, I don't even know how to follow or any of this. And then I met Steph, and Steph was telling me all about it. I was like, it's incredible what you can really do with Pinterest. Mm-hmm. So my biggest question is about the boards. Is there a certain number of boards you should have?
It really depends on your business. So if your goal is to drive organic traffic and you're consistently producing new content, generally for every type of new category you create. So for example, if you write about starting a business and you've never written about, if you write a blog post about Pinterest, but you don't have any boards for Pinterest yet, yeah, I generally say for every new topic, have about 3 to 5 new boards so that you can share that pin to those different boards and continue to produce that content. But then of course, always having those general boards that are related to content marketing, starting businesses. You want something really general when you name boards so that you can share as much content to that of yours as possible. So, so that's for organic strategy. So if you're consistently producing new content, you'll be consistently creating new boards. But if you have 1 or 2 products, or if you're e-commerce and you have and you only have about 10 products, maybe you'll have less boards. And so it really depends. But if you're focused more on the organic strategy, I would say that you can't have enough boards as long as they're optimized with keywords and you're only sharing relevant content to those boards.
And it's okay to share a pin to multiple boards?
Yes. So there's no set Pinterest best practice. So, they've never said you can't pin to this many boards this many times. But I found that if I'm spacing out my pins, so when I'm scheduling them, I use Tailwind to schedule my pins, and you can set intervals. So I won't pin this pin again for another 2 weeks, and it's going to go to another board in 2 weeks. So generally, like once that interval is over, then maybe you'll think about creating some more boards. So you usually like to space it out as much as possible before pinning that same pin back to the same board, or even to other boards. But you can repin to different boards and even the same board with enough time.
That's amazing. And what kind of benefits, for those out there that are just new to starting, what kind of benefits have you seen from someone just starting out a business? What kind of benefits would it bring?
So it's visibility. And in social media, when you basically, people have to have discovered you already to be able to interact with your content. And but when you're on Pinterest, you can just be starting out, and somebody can discover your content and they go to your website. Then it's your job as a business to find a way to nurture those relationships. So to funnel them into your email list, to get them to follow you or to join your Facebook group, to wherever you nurture relationships is what you should be funneling them to. So as you're starting your business, having a strategy, not only for Pinterest, but a way to continue to nurture that relationship. And it's really that point of discovery and the funnel. So that's what's really great about Pinterest is the content is evergreen. So when you're just getting started out, you pin it once, that pin could live on forever and ever. So people can continue to find that again and again and discover you without you having to be in their DMs, be, constantly present in that interaction.
And is there a time of day that's best to post on Pinterest?
It really depends on the audience. And one of the things that I like about, using Tailwind as well is you can customize your pinning schedule based on when your audience is most engaged. So it really just depends on, the audience. It depends on the types of pins. It depends, even on an account by account basis. So what I like, and so that's one of the reasons that I like to recommend using Tailwind is because you can customize your schedule. And I would once a month or so, I redo my schedule where especially when you're just getting started out and your audience is just discovering you, that best time of the day is going to change depending on how much, the more content you produce. So I generally like to shuffle or change my schedule up so that my pins only pin at the best times of day.
That's perfect. So if a business is just starting out and they're hiring you to help them with their Pinterest, what type of services do you provide?
So I provide everything from just consultation and audit. So the journey, I do full support management, but then also for those that are more DIYers, there's courses and then also deep dive intensives where we'll work together, create a custom plan for them. And sometimes people have been doing, maybe they've been on Pinterest, but they're really just getting serious about it and their account needs some TLC. I'll go in there and then give them a maintenance plan. So there's really different strategies for that, but for every single one, I highly recommend looking at the big picture. So I usually provide I always provide audits for any new service I do, looking at their website, looking at their other social accounts, looking at how easy it is for people to stay in their network, and then of course looking at the health of their Pinterest account, because I always say that if your website isn't prepared for Pinterest or where you're leading them to isn't prepared for Pinterest, then you want to get that ready before you start driving traffic.
Yeah, that makes sense, because if you're trying to bring them somewhere and you're going to lose their attention right away, then you basically defeated the purpose.
Exactly.
Excellent. So I also know that you have some freebies to give to the audience. So can you tell us about your free giveaways?
Absolutely. So I have a freebie. It's ways to boost your blog for Pinterest. And that's what we talked about, like what to look at on your blog to help the people that you're driving from traffic, and then some tips for Pinterest as well. And then for you guys, I'm happy to offer 30% off of my Pinterest 101 course, walking you through from setup all the way to keywords and graphic creation.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And for the audience, everything's going to be listed below. So just feel free to scroll down a little bit and you'll see it right there. And along with all of your social media as well. So if you want to connect with Melanie, we have her links to everything there. Thank you so much for joining us, Melanie. We really appreciate having you.
This has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And hopefully we have a large audience that will come to connect with you, because I do find so much value in Pinterest, and it's not just a fun thing to scroll on in your free time. It is actually great for any business.
I 100% agree.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.